Because, Your Honor, I object to
What
the
do
fact
you
that
not
it's calling it a
understand?
no
Sir,
RV.
your objections mean shit to me. So you keep saying, I object, I object, I object. I don't care. I don't care what you're objecting to. I'm going to hold you in contempt the next time you cut her off.
Well, I do object to the setting aside of my motion, Your Honor.
I'm not setting aside your motion. I'm denying your motion.
Well, denying. I object to the
You
denying.
can't
of the
object. You can appeal. Brother, why'd you just waste 5 minutes of my life?
Today, we're watching a sovereign citizen who seriously thinks he can outsmart a judge with made-up laws and nonsense, but this judge isn't having it. No games, no patience for fantasy rules, just cold hard facts. As this guy tries to argue with actual law, the judge calmly and completely shuts him down. Honestly, it's amazing to see how these people believe they're above the law when the law doesn't care about their imaginary rules. The judge handled it like a pro. But what do you think? Should he have been even tougher? Let me know in the comments and let's dive in.
I actually have issues to discuss before I cross.
But the court reporter needs to take you up.
Here, you don't have to be at the podium, but at least have a seat at that table where that microphone is.
Threats, coercion, and I'm under duress. I'll cross.
You're under duress. How are you under duress?
Well, Your Honor, as stated in my motion, there's actually fraudulent word that since been signed by a judge. I have lawsuits filed on all of this stuff right now, which I know that they received.
Hold on, brother. Wait. I'm just asking you to have a seat at the chair with a microphone.
Oh, I understand that. I'll do it. Okay. The final seconds up here.
That's fine, just make sure you talk to the microphone.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, you can sit down. Okay. So I think this is your motion to dismiss, right?
Yes, I have a few in there that I've been repeatedly trying
Okay,
to
well,
be
which one do
dismissed.
you want to start with first?
Well, the recent one I filed, the motion to reject swearing in and all that based off the fact that, like I said, I was sent a default motion that, I don't know how it even got sent out past the day, but it was never signed or anything. I was also defaulted out the fact that there was a citation that never even presented a court appearance.
Okay, hold
date
on.
and
You're
all
giving me
that
too
stuff.
many issues. You're talking about swearing in, you're talking about a default judgment. Just pick one issue. We're gonna deal with them one at a time. So what do you want to deal with first? You want to
Well,
deal
my
with the
main motion.
default?
Well, yeah, the default.
Okay, so was that on the civil infraction, failed to disclose the CPL?
I suppose that's what it was under, yes.
Okay, don't suppose, it's your motion, brother. Tell me what it is.
Well, it keeps getting
I mean,
set
that's the only
aside, so
civil
I
infraction.
have numerous, I
Hold on,
have lots of stuff.
Hold on,
going
that's the
here.
only civil infraction I see with your name on it. So I'm just confirming that we're talking
Yes,
about
it was over
that
the-
charge.
Yeah, sure. It was over
Okay. So do you know why the default was entered? Did you miss a deadline? Did you
Well,
not?
I was notified, I was called by people that I know within Huron and the police chief stating that I had a missed appearance date. I never had an appearance date scheduled, but I went back looking at the citation, there was no date, and actually how fast it got issued would raises real concerns to me. And then once I received the default in
Okay,
the
hold
order.
on, hold on. Let's take one thing at a time. So you said you never got an appearance date.
Correct.
Do you have a copy of the ticket? Because I've got a copy.
Yeah, I
of the
said
ticket.
it's in there, it's attached to my motions.
Okay, do you have a copy of
Yes,
the ticket?
I do.
Okay, then I'm gonna ask you to look at that copy of the ticket. Because my copy of your ticket says contact court for appearance date.
It says contact court for appearance date, where it says appearance date on or before, there's nothing.
Okay,
They
but
didn't
it
give me no
says,
time frame.
it says contact court for appearance date. That
How
means the
long?
monkey's on your back to contact us.
I will also on the bottom of the tickets, it says, if you fail to contact court within the specified amount of time, there was no specified amount of time on here. I had no idea when I was supposed to contact court. I was dealing with trying to get my
Well, let me
attorney.
ask you this. Did you contact the court?
I was again, as I said, I had no sort of any time frame
Mr.
to
Crucell,
contact the
Mr.
court.
Crucell, this is gonna go a lot easier on everybody if you just answer the question I asked. I'm gonna give you plenty of chance to give me any argument you wanna give. Okay? So don't feel that you have to force your argument into every question I ask. The question was, did you contact the court?
Well, Your Honor, I would have contacted the court if I had a specified.
That's a yes or no. So I'm gonna take that as a no. You didn't contact the court. So after 14 days on a civil infraction, if we don't hear from the defendant, we enter default.
It was less than that actually when I was defaulted, Your Honor.
Less than that from what?
From whatever this was issued. And like I said, I was contacting
Well, once
attorneys.
again, I'm gonna draw your attention to the ticket.
This guy, seriously, just can't stop talking. The judge makes a clear, solid point, and instead of letting it sink in, he keeps running his mouth. I don't get why these sovereign citizen types feel the need to argue with every single question the judge asks. It's not rocket science. The judge is simply trying to figure out whether this guy intentionally missed his court date or if it was a genuine mistake. But instead of answering like a normal person, he acts like he's above it all. Does he even realize he's digging his own grave here? I honestly can't tell if these people have no clue what's happening or if they actually believe they're the smartest one in the room. Either way, let's jump back in.
My ticket, which I think is the same one you got, is dated February 3rd.
Correct,
Okay, so that's when it was issued, February 3rd.
correct.
So when was the default? When did you get notice of a default?
Actually, I received, I'm sorry, I know I got the thing in the mail. When did I get this? This says that, I don't think it specifies the date.
Well, did you make a note when you received it?
This told me, this said I had I don't remember exactly what date I received this in the
Okay.
mail, but this was scheduled for March 8th.
Okay.
So that was even less than a
But what is that that's scheduled?
This says it was for my order, the motion affidavit saying that I was defaulted and saying that I needed to pay bond and an a warrant would be issued. And I said,
Okay.
again, that was never.
And that's dated what?
This was dated 3/8. That I needed to appear
Okay.
on or before 3/8.
Okay, so that was March 8th. You were defaulted February 22nd.
Okay. Which then, again, there was no dates. I had no nothing. I had no
Okay.
notice
Well,
of any
well,
sort of.
well, once again,
appearance.
you're not hearing what I'm telling you. The monkey was on your back. The ticket clearly said you contact us. You never did.
And it also specifies right here, if you fail to appear by the date specified, and then on the bottom one, even for the other one, if you fail to answer a citation by date specified, there was no dates.
Okay,
There was no dates.
okay. Do you have anything to add?
I do, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Mr. Crusoe brought this up when we were in front of the Honorable Judge Martin. She did set aside the default in the civil infraction, irregardless of whether or not he showed up.
Which I object to the setting
Sir, do
aside.
not interrupt the lady. Did she interrupt you?
No,
Then don't do that. Let's be civil. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge Green, Mr. Crusoe did bring it up again with the Honorable Judge Green, and she declined or denied his motion based on the fact that it was moot because the Judge Martin set it aside.
So the default's already been set aside.
Yes,
Brother, why'd you just waste 5 minutes of my life?
since March 14th, Your Honor.
which I object to that because they.
You object to your motion being
No, I
granted?
object to them setting aside my motion.
This guy literally got exactly what he asked for at his last hearing, and now he's acting like he has no idea what's going on. Judge Martin, his original judge, even went out of his way to set aside the default because the guy filed a motion requesting it. The court gave him exactly what he wanted, and now he shows up confused about the default date like it's someone else's fault. These sovereign citizen types kill me. They have no respect for the court, the legal process, or even the taxpayers who end up footing the bill for all this nonsense. Do they even realize how much time and money they waste dragging cases out with their made-up rules? What do you guys think? Should judges even bother entertaining this kind of behavior, or should they just start handing out jail time the moment someone starts reciting one of these fake legal scripts? Let's get back to the video.
Wait, listen. She tells me Judge Martin set aside the default based on your motion.
Yes, but I was never told any of that prior to any of that.
So you want to argue about the fact that you got what you asked for?
No, what I'm saying is the fact that the due process was violated is what happened in this whole problem. When I was defaulted, due process was violated.
So what? She set it aside.
Not, listen, okay, it was set aside to cause damages to me because of what happened with the default.
Well, explain to me how you were damaged.
First off, there's threats made against me, right? Clearly he's threatening me to
No,
issue
no.
warrants,
I didn't ask you
threatening to
about
pay
threats.
money.
I said, how were you? You said you were damaged. I'm asking you, what was the damage?
But the fact that I was threatened to come in and pay money or warrants. would
How
be
was that
issued for my
damage?
arrest. And I was being threatened by Huron Police, which I have on record.
What's the damage?
What do you mean? The fact that I had to come in and pay money or I would have been, they'd have been issued.
What money
warrants.
did you pay?
Huh?
What money did you pay?
$280. I had the receipt and everything. It was all attached to my motions. They just keep trying to set it aside. And Judge Green never said a word to me
Stop.
about any of that.
It's been set aside. Counsel just said, Judge Martin set aside the default. So what that means is procedurally, it's like it's a brand new file. Understood?
Yeah, but that's according, yeah, but that, especially now with the new Chevron overlay, that's just saying that she's just trying to set it aside, that there's no issues. with
She
the
didn't try
court.
to set it aside, she sat it
But she
aside.
can't. She can't just set my rights aside.
She's not setting your rights aside, she set a default aside because you asked her to.
Well, so if it's decided, then the money should be returned, correct?
Well, I don't know. Did she address the money?
I don't
No,
think
she
so.
never did. No one did. It's
Sir?
written in my motion.
Sir, I'm going to hold you in contempt the next time you cut her off.
It is. That's exactly the kind of judge we need to handle these clowns. Now, to be fair, looking back a few seconds into the clip, it was a little unclear whether the judge was talking directly to the sovereign citizen guy. But come on, let's be real. This dude is just a mess. His arguments are all over the place, and I seriously wish we could see his face while he tries to push this nonsense. Even if he didn't know the judge was speaking to him, he really just needs to stop talking or hire a lawyer, because nothing he's saying makes any legal sense. If anyone out there can explain what this guy's trying to do, I'm all ears. But I try to stay grounded in actual law, not these made-up fantasy rules. Thankfully, the judge finally shut him down. Now, let's get back to the video and see if this guy tries to interrupt again.
You want to talk about first, you said your motion to set aside the default. That was granted by Judge Martin, is what I'm hearing from the prosecutor. So that motion's done. Would you agree?
As long as my money gets returned, then I guess it's taken
At
care
some
of.
point, trust me, your money will either get applied or returned. Next motion you want to talk about.
The dismissal based off the fundamental violations of my fundamental rights and due process.
Okay, well, tell me more.
Okay.
You have, hold on, let me just cut to the chase. Do you have more than just the fact that you think you have a right to travel?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually,
That's denied. I'll just cut to the chase. That's denied. I don't buy into that argument. Now, you can appeal that decision to the circuit court. You understand how that works? District court decisions you can appeal.
absolutely.
Okay, hold on. I've denied that motion. We're not going to talk about that motion because I've denied it based on your argument that you have a right to travel and don't need a license. Is there anything else you want to hang your hat on for dismissal?
Well, I do object to the setting aside of my motion, Your Honor.
I'm not setting aside your motion. I'm denying your motion.
Well, denying, I object to the
You
denying.
can't
of my motion.
object. You can appeal.
Well, I'm just
Okay.
letting you know, I'm stating for the record that I am objecting to your denial of my appeal.
That's fine.
Okay.
Circuit court judges have bills to pay too, right? So you appeal me to the circuit court. Do you have any other argument why these cases should be dismissed?
Yes, absolutely. Well, honestly, Your Honor, like I said, I even have lawsuits. They've received my lawsuits to the Huron Township Police Department overall.
Hold on. I don't know anything about lawsuit. How would you suing the township work as a reason to dismiss these charges?
Because the initial traffic stop and everything was an unlawful stop from the get. I was
Okay, but that's got
retaliating.
nothing to do with your lawsuit. That might be the basis of your lawsuit. So you want to talk about whether or not there was a valid reason for a
Yeah,
stop?
absolutely.
Then make the argument.
Yeah, Your Honor, so prior to me being pulled over by this officer, I was actually in contact with several law enforcement officers that are friends, and actually two that are currently working within Huron that had confirmed I had every lawful right to be doing what I was doing. The one even pulled up to me and my wife at a gas station and we in town, and we are in Sibley and Middlebelt, right near actually where I got pulled over, and we had discussed it and talked about it and went on about our day, and this was all prior to this incident. I had two other interactions with this officer where I had specifically told him, I've already been confirmed and doing lawful, I'm well within my lawful rights. I have it documented. You need to go talk to the sergeant that I've been talking to and a couple other buddies, right? I gave him that opportunity. It was shortly after that. And I had that confirmation well prior to me even being pulled over. Okay. So then, this officer seen me leaving my house, pulling off my dead end dirt road, proceeded. Like I said, I even told him, I've already had this, I've already addressed this. You need to go talk to the sergeant.
Right.
Chose not to. Pulled me over, walked up, just started demanding ID and everything from me, and wouldn't identify himself, none of that good stuff. And then now this is where it's all led to. And I informed him, I have body cams, I have my own recording. And like I said, I have a lot.
Okay, but you started out by saying you wanted this dismissed because there was not probable cause for the stop.
Correct.
Okay. And then you went on to tell me how there was obviously a difference of opinion within the department about whether or not what you were doing was legal or not.
Well, I
Is that
specifically
a fair
stated.
summation?
What was that?
Is that a fair summation of what you just said? Some of the officers that you talked to said you could do that, and obviously the officer that wrote you the ticket didn't think you could.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a difference of opinion there, which has very little, if anything, to do with the probable cause for the.
To be fair, this guy's argument isn't as ridiculous as the usual sovereign citizen nonsense we hear. No talk of flesh and blood or made-up jurisdiction claims. Instead, he's actually saying that some officers told him it was okay to drive, But then the one who ticketed him said otherwise. Honestly, that's not the worst excuse we've heard from someone in his position. Compared to the usual 2 brain cell logic we see in these cases, this guy might be working with 4 or 5, which is practically a win in sovereign citizen world. I mean, I can see how he might be a little confused, but let's be real, he's probably just playing dumb. Legally, the officer had solid probable cause for the ticket. If you're carrying, you have to disclose your CPL, and you definitely need a valid driver's license on top of that. What do you think? Are you buying his story? Personally, I don't believe a word of it. Let's dive back in and see how this plays out.